Good day, my name is Tatjana Jaroš and my presentation for today is wastewater treatment plants for industrial wastewater. Industrial wastewater system is made for purifying wastewater from industry plants. We can classify water from industrial industries as a water containing organic, inorganic substances, biological, easier and more difficult to decompose waters. Every wastewater treatment plant is designed in accordance with the needs and requirements of investor, type, and amount of water. Wastewater treatment plants are based on the coagulation and flotation, depends on the water. On this slide we can see some industry that produce wastewater, like chemical, metal processing, food industry, textile industry, or paper industry. First of all, for wastewater treatment, we need to use mechanical pretreatment. Mechanical pretreatment of wastewater remove solids from wastewater. We can use coarse and fine grade or screen. On this picture, we can see one screw screen for mechanical pretreatment. We can see that the waste from pretreatment is collected in the waste bin and can be disposed of in a certain manner. For wastewater treatment plants, we can use, like I said, flotation. To be more exact, DAF flotation. DAF is stand for dissolved air flotation, and on this scheme we can see how the DAF is functioning. First, we have mechanical pretreatment. Like I said, it removes solid particles from wastewater. After that, water is pumped into buffer or equalization tanks, tank where the water is mixed by air. After equalization tank, the water goes through pipe mixer in a flotation device. In the pipe mixer, chemical are those. Chemicals can be coagulators or polymers, and of course we can use acids or bases for pH to have a pH of certain value that is needed for flotation. After flotation tank, the water After flotation, the sludge is removed into a sludge tank, and the water is then discharged into recipient or can go to additional treatment if it's needed. Sludge can then be dehydrated with different dehydration methods that can be screw dehydrator or a filter press. On this picture we can see a sludge scraper from DAF flotation system. As you can see, the sludge is located on the top of the water, on the top of the tank, and it's then discharged into a sludge tank. On this picture we can see a polyelectrolyte preparation station. The polyelectrolyte is needed for flotation because the polymer that is prepared, polymer or the polyelectrolyte, is prepared in this station, and polymer causes the to form floccules on top of the water. On this picture we can see one DAF flotation module. You can see the pipe mixer, chemical containers, and of course the flotation tank. The other possibility to treat wastewater is batch treatment. The DAF flotation is continuous treatment, and this is discontinuous. Of course, the name says so. First, we also have a mechanical pretreatment for removing the solid particles, and then water goes to equalization tank. Air is blown by blower into equalization tank to provide mixing of water. After that, water goes into physical-chemical reactor. Reactor is equipped with mixer that mix water with those chemicals. Of course, we also have coagulation, chemical, and polymer, and of course, acid or base for pH to make pH value that we need for this water. After mixing in the reactor, the water goes to lamella settling tank where it is removed from sludge, from excess sludge, because in the reactor sludge is coagulated at the bottom and then it's pumped into sludge tank and water goes to lamella settling to remove the excess sludge that may go with water. Water is then discharged in the recipient or goes to additional treatment. Sludge is collected in a sludge tank and it can be dehydrated if it's needed or disposed as it is in an appropriate manner. On this picture we can see a physical-chemical reactor, and in the behind of reactor you can see a polyelectrolyte preparation station. Of course, it can be round like this, it's one chamber station, or the picture before you see it's a three-chamber station for polymer preparation. On this model we can see a batch treatment that we made for paper industry. On the far left you can see equalization tank. If the wastewater quantity is smaller, the equalization tank can be put in a container with remaining equipment, like this. After, next to equalization tank is a small polymer preparation station. Next to it is a physical-chemical reactor. You can see the green little thing that is a motor for mixer. Across reactor is a dosing station for chemicals, and the next to reactor is a sludge container, sludge tank, and after sludge tank we have a chamber filter press for sludge dehydration. This is a container version, and everything is compact and can be made if the farm that needs to treat wastewater doesn't have limited space. This is another container version of wastewater treatment plants, and in front you can see a drum screen which is used for pre-treatment. We already seen a screw screen, and this is a smaller pre-treatment for wastewater. This is another container version of wastewater treatment plant. In the picture we can see the plant that is made for metal processing industry. You can see a physical-chemical reactor in the front, and behind you can see a lamella settling tank, and then in front of the lamella settling tank is a dosing station for chemicals. On the far back you can see a controlling unit. All our wastewater treatment plants come with a pre-programmed control unit. This is how that containers look with equipment. We can see it can vary in size, and it's not big. So if you have limited space, this is great for you, because if the water is if you have larger quantities of water and you need a bigger equalization tank, you can put tank underground, and on top of it you can put container. This is the set control cabinet. On the far right you can see how it looks when it's closed, and on the left you can see the screen, where touch screen, and you can put mode. Do you want an automatic, manual? Put every setup that you need. It's pretty much it's pre-programmed with a program that it allows you to change the parameters that you need at the moment. When we are dimensioning the wastewater treatment plants, we need to take some several conditions for it. First of all, we need to know what is the recipient of this treated wastewater. We saw flotation and batch wastewater treatment. They treat water for the sewage recipient, but if the wastewater needs to be discharged in a natural recipient like river or surface water, wastewater needs to be purified further. For that, we can use, for example, biological treatment. One of the other things we need to check for dimensioning wastewater treatment plant is composition of wastewater and of course the quantity of wastewater. Flotation wastewater treatment has a capacity from 1 to 200 cubic meter per day, while batch treatment has capacity from 10 to 15 cubic meter per day. We can see if we have a smaller capacity of wastewater, it's better to use batch treatment, and if we have a larger quantity of water, it's better to use flotation capacity. Of course, if we're going to use flotation or batch treatment, we have to take knowledge of what is contained in water as a pollutant, because not every pollutants can float or coagulate. So based on that, we decide on flotation or batch treatment. On this picture, on this slide, we can see some reference wastewater treatment plant that use their flotation. You can see the capacity varies from 50 or 42 to 200 cubic meter per day. You can see it's a food industry, fish industry, or dairy industry. They have a large capacity of wastewater, and most of the pollutants in that surface water is organic and it floats, so we were able to use that flotation. On this slide, you can see some reference wastewater treatment plants that use batch treatment. You can see the capacity is smaller, and you can see it's food industry, paper industry, steel production. In that said industry, don't use so much water, because for this food industry is only for processed or already made meat, so to speak, so they don't need water. But you can see that food industry and industry for that has fish or similar require a lot of water, because it needs to be cleaned and washed for food grade process, and industrial or paper steel production or paper industry does not require so much water. This was a short presentation. Any questions you need, if you're interested, you can find on our website. You can find our contacts and ask anything you need to know, and you will get your answer in a short time. Thank you so much for your attention.